If you've been waking up with a heavy chest, clearing your throat every few minutes, or feeling like no matter how deeply you try to breathe, something is always in the way, I need you to stay right here, because what I'm about to share in the next few minutes may be the most important thing you hear about your lungs this year. And most doctors never talk about it. My name is Dr. Vincent Halberg. I've spent over 2 decades studying respiratory health, inflammatory patterns in the airways, and what I call silent lung stress, a condition that doesn't show up on most standard tests, but that millions of people are living with right now, completely unaware of what's actually happening inside their airways. I want to ask you one question, and I want you to answer it honestly, just for yourself. When was the last time you took a truly deep breath, all the way in, all the way to the bottom of your lungs, without feeling some kind of resistance, without a small cough at the end, without tightness in your chest, without that familiar sensation that something is sitting there, weighing your breathing down? If you had to think about it for a moment, that's already telling you something. Most people assume that kind of discomfort is normal. They chalk it up to age, to the weather changing, to stress, to dust in the air. They clear their throat, they cough a little, they move on. And that's exactly what makes this so dangerous. Not because it kills suddenly, but because it progresses slowly, quietly, and by the time most people take it seriously, the situation has already been building for months or even years. Today, I'm going to explain exactly what is happening inside your airways. I'm going to show you what mucus actually is and why conventional thinking about it is almost entirely wrong. I'm going to walk you through a mechanism that most people have never heard of, one that explains why your throat always feels coated, why your chest feels heavy in the morning, and why simply drinking more water or taking a cough suppressant does absolutely nothing to solve it. And near the end of this video, I'm going to share something that has been quietly helping a growing number of people support their body's own respiratory system in a way that is completely natural and requires nothing invasive. But first, I need to change the way you think about mucus, because almost everything you've been told about it is wrong. Here is what most people believe. Mucus is bad. It's something your body produces when it's sick, something that needs to be dried out, suppressed, or expelled as quickly as possible. Millions of people take decongestants and mucolytics every single day based on this belief. But here is the truth. Mucus is not your enemy. It never was. Your body produces mucus on purpose. Every single day, your lungs and airways produce roughly 1 to 1.5 liters of mucus under completely normal conditions. That mucus is a protective barrier. It traps bacteria, viruses, dust particles, and environmental toxins before they can reach the delicate tissue deep in your lungs. Without mucus, your airways will be completely exposed to everything in the air around you. So here's the real question you should be asking. If mucus is protective, why does it sometimes feel like it's suffocating you? The answer lies in a system most people have never heard of, deep inside your airways, lining every surface from your nose to the deepest chambers of your lungs. There are millions of microscopic hair-like structures called cilia. These tiny fibers move in coordinated waves, almost like a conveyor belt, constantly sweeping mucus upward and out of your airways, where it gets swallowed or expelled harmlessly. This system is called the mucociliary clearance system, and in a healthy body, it works invisibly and constantly, keeping your airways clean and clear without you ever noticing it. But here's the critical part that nobody talks about. This system can break down, slowly, silently, and when it does, the mucus that was supposed to protect you begins to accumulate instead of clear. It thickens. It sits in your airways. It creates exactly that sensation of heaviness, of obstruction, of breathing through something that isn't quite right. And the worst part? The breakdown of the system is almost never caused by one single thing. It's the result of a combination of factors that compound over time. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the airway lining, environmental exposure to invisible irritants, things like indoor mold spores, chemical compounds from household products, particulate matter that has been linked to airway dysfunction in research going back decades, and in many cases, a dietary and lifestyle pattern that quietly suppresses the body's ability to maintain healthy mucus viscosity and cilia function. When all of these factors combine, and they combine far more often than we'd like to admit, the result is a state of persistent respiratory congestion that no amount of throat clearing fully resolves. That's what you may be experiencing right now. and it's not your fault. You were never taught to look for it. Now I want you to stop for just a moment and really think about what I've just described. That heavy feeling in your chest. Is it there most mornings? That cough that appears out of nowhere, especially in certain rooms or at certain times of day. Have you ever wondered if the environment around you could be affecting your airways without you realizing it? That sensation of not being able to breathe as deeply as you used to. When did it start? Did it happen gradually, over months or years, so slowly that it almost felt normal? If any of this is resonating with you, I want you to understand something. The fact that it develops slowly does not mean it is harmless. In fact, that's precisely what makes it so important to address. Because while the symptoms may seem manageable today, the underlying pattern, inflammation, mucus accumulation, reduced airway function, does not resolve on its own simply because you decide to ignore it. In most cases, it compounds, slowly but steadily. And this brings me to something I feel I need to say directly to you, right now, before we go any further. There is a window of time during which the body's natural systems are still responsive, still capable of recovering their function with the right kind of support. That window doesn't stay open forever. I've seen patients who waited years before addressing persistent respiratory symptoms, and the difference in how their body responded compared to those who acted earlier is significant. The people who acted when the signal was still mild, when it was still just a heavy chest or recurring mucus, they gave their body the best possible environment to respond. The ones who waited often found the road back much harder. I'm telling you this not to alarm you. I'm telling you this because right now, today, you still have that window, and I don't want you to close this video and think you'll deal with it later. Because later, for many people, becomes a very different situation than what they're facing today. A growing number of people have already begun supporting their respiratory system using a completely natural method that works with the body's own mechanisms, not against them. No harsh chemicals, no dependency, no invasive procedures. Just targeted natural support for the systems that are supposed to keep your airways clean and clear. People have been sharing what this has done for their breathing, their mornings, their energy, and their ability to breathe fully and deeply again in a way they hadn't experienced in years. If that sounds like something your body might need, the link is in the description and pinned in the first comment below this video. But I have to be honest with you. Due to the growing demand and some supply limitations, access has been inconsistent. There have been periods where the link was unavailable for weeks at a time. Right now it's active. I don't know for how long. If you're watching this and the link works, please don't put off. Go check it now and come back to finish watching. I'll be right here. Go to the link. Come back. Let's continue. Now, let's talk about something that most respiratory conversations completely overlook. The role of inflammation. When people hear the word inflammation, they typically think of something visible, a swollen ankle, a red wound, pain you can feel clearly. But there is another kind of inflammation. Researchers refer to it as chronic low-grade inflammation, and it is one of the most underestimated forces in modern health. It produces no fever. It causes no sudden dramatic symptoms. It simply persists quietly in the background, wearing down the body systems over months and years. In the airways, this kind of inflammation is particularly destructive. It changes the composition of the mucus your body produces, making it thicker, stickier, and harder for the cilia to move. It irritates the airway lining in a way that triggers even more mucus production, creating a cycle that feeds itself. And it suppresses the very immune responses that are supposed to resolve the situation. It is, in the truest sense, a self-reinforcing problem, one that will not stop simply because you want it to. What drives this inflammation? The list is long, and for many people it includes more than one factor simultaneously. Environmental mold exposure is one of the most common culprits, and the most overlooked. Research has shown that chronic mold inhalation, even at levels that don't cause obvious symptoms, can trigger persistent airway inflammation in a significant portion of the population. The challenge is that indoor mold is often invisible, odorless, and present in places people would never think to look. Inside wall cavities, beneath flooring, behind appliances, in HVAC systems. You could be living with it right now and have no idea. Dietary patterns matter enormously as well. Certain foods and compounds have been shown to promote the kind of systemic inflammation that eventually shows up in the airways. Others have demonstrated the opposite, an ability to help the body modulate its inflammatory response and support the structural function of the mucociliary system. This is not speculation. It is an increasingly well-documented area of research that the general public has simply not been exposed to. And then there is what I think of as the accumulation effect. For most people living with persistent mucus and respiratory discomfort, the real problem is not one single cause. It is the accumulation of multiple moderate stressors on the airway system over an extended period of time. No single factor was severe enough to force a dramatic response. But together, over years, they create a state of chronic dysfunction that now feels impossible to reverse. I want to be very clear about something. The body is extraordinarily capable of recovering when given the right conditions. I have seen patients who were convinced that their heavy breathing and persistent mucus were simply their new normal, permanent features of aging or past illness, and who were genuinely surprised by what happened when they began giving their body the targeted support it needed. The body wants to clear. The body wants to breathe freely. When you remove the obstacles and support the right systems, things can shift in ways that feel remarkable. But the body's ability to respond is not unlimited, and it is not timeless. This is the part one needs you to hear most carefully. Every day that the mucociliary system operates under chronic inflammatory stress, the cilia that line your airways sustain damage. In small amounts, this damage is reversible. The body repairs it. But when the damage accumulates, when the inflammation persists for months or years without interruption, the repair process begins to fall behind. The cilia become structurally compromised. The mucus thickens further. The cycle accelerates. There's a threshold, different for each person, beyond which recovery becomes significantly harder. Not impossible, but harder, slower, requiring more. And I've watched too many patients cross that threshold unnecessarily, simply because they didn't realize how important it was to act while the process was still in its early stages. You are watching this video right now. That means you already know something is off. Your body has already been sending you signals. The heavy chest, the morning congestion, the recurring mucus, the fatigue that comes from breathing that takes more effort than it should. Those signals are your window. They are your body's way of telling you that the system needs support before the situation becomes harder to address. The natural method that has been helping people support their respiratory health addresses several of the key factors we discussed today: the inflammation, the mucus viscosity, the support for the body's own clearance mechanisms. It is not a medication. It does not override your body's processes. It works with them gently, the way nature intended. And the people who have used it consistently describe something that sounds, to many of them, almost too good to be true after months or years of struggling: the ability to breathe deeply, fully, and freely again. I need to tell you something very directly right now. The link in the description and in the first comment below this video is the only place to access this information, and that access is genuinely limited. This is not a marketing phrase. The supply behind what's being offered there has been strained by demand, and there have been documented periods of unavailability that lasted weeks. Every time the link goes back up, the people who act immediately are the ones who benefit. The people who say, "I'll come back to this tomorrow," frequently find that tomorrow is too late, not just because of availability, but because their own window of optimal response is narrowed further. You came to this video for a reason. Something in your breathing, your chest, your daily experience brought you here. Your body is asking for help. And right now, in this moment, you have the information you need and the access you need to respond. Don't let this be the video you meant to act on. Don't let it be the moment you recognize a problem and decided to revisit it later. Later is the enemy of recovery. Right now is the moment your body is giving you. The link is below. It's there right now. Go to it. Read everything. Understand what's available. And give your lungs the support they've been asking for. You've already taken the first step by watching this. Take the next one. Your breathing. Your mornings, your energy, your ability to feel air move freely through your lungs is worth it